Hello, my name is Michael O'Keefe, aka The Movie Mist. If you enjoy this interview and want to hear more top-notch film industry conversations, please press the thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and hit the bell to stay in the know. Kayla, how are you today?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm excellent. So, 10 minutes before I leave my apartment today, I see the trailer for the House of Psychotic Women Blu-ray box set.
Yes.
So tell me about that. That was amazing.
Yeah, so that was a surprise. That was like an announcement that we were planning to drop today. And basically, Severin Films, who I work for, I had this kind of last minute idea. The new expanded edition of the book was already at the printer, and I had the idea like, oh, what if we tried to do a box set for Severin of just some of the more rare movies that haven't been released? And my boss was like, well, I love the idea, but it takes a lot longer than 4 months to put together a box set, in terms of like tracking down the rights and buying the rights and like getting all the materials, and especially when you're dealing with films that you have to do new restorations of and stuff.
Right.
And so everybody on the whole Severin team just totally hustled to try to get this done, and we managed to do it, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. And so, so it's up for pre-order right now at severinfilms.com, and I think the actual date that they'll start shipping it is like August 30th or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's little bundles, you get a little swag bag.
Yeah, so there's a bundle you can get where you can get it with the book. So you can get just the Blu-ray box set by itself, or you can get it bundled with the book, or you can get the kind of what's called the baddie bundle, which is like a crazy bundle that has tons of stuff. It's got like the book, it's got a tote bag, it's got a sleep mask that's inspired by the movie Footprints that's in the kit, it's got a scarf that's of the pattern of Liz Taylor's dress in the movie Identikit, and it's got a replica poster of the Czech poster for I Like Bats, which was the poster that I saw that poster and it tipped me off to that movie. That's how I heard of it, but also it informed the color scheme of the whole set. The whole set is like teal and orange, and it all came from that I Like Bats poster.
Cool. And those movies are played here at Fantasia too, right?
There's 3 of the 4 movies are playing at Fantasia. There is one other movie in the box set called The Other Side of the Underneath, and it's not playing at the festival, but it's in the box set.
Cool. And you're going to be introducing those movies here, right?
I will, yes. I'm going to be introducing the book launch officially is with the movie Identikit, which is screening on Sunday the 24th. So that'll be the first time anybody sees the book and gets their hands on it. And then there will also be, and that screening is at the DeSev, like in the sort of main area of the festival. But then throughout the week, like on the weekdays at the Cinémathèque Québécoise, they are playing another like 4 movies that are from the book. So so there's some of the they're all new restorations from Severin. So like 3 of them are ones that are in this box set, but then they're also playing Il Demonio, which we restored for the folk horror box set, because it's also in the House of Psychotic Women book. So they wanted to play that because they didn't have a chance to play it back when the folk horror movie came out. So
sweet. And how many Fantasia Fests do you figure you've been to?
I've been to almost every one since 1999. I think there was like 2 years maybe where I didn't come because I was working in Texas, and I just ended up getting like super busy and I couldn't get away. Yeah. But I think every other year I've come, other than during the pandemic, and it wasn't happening.
Right.
And it's also the first festival that I think I had maybe gone to the Vancouver Film Festival as a customer like once, like 1 year. But the Fantasia Festival was not only the first festival I really experienced, but they treated me as like a peer and a colleague like immediately when I arrived. And I had, at that point, I had done nothing. Like 1999, all I had was like a little crappy fanzine, And so, I had started a film festival that year in Vancouver called Cine Muerte, but it was very, very small, and it was just paid for out of my own pocket with money from my job. And so super, super small. But still, when I came here, Mitch introduced me to Mitch Davis, the co-director of the festival, who at the time was one of the international programmers for the festival. But he introduced me to everybody as though I was just the same as them, like it's like, oh, here's Kayla, she runs this other festival, she's a festival programmer. And so even though everybody else had like decades more experience than me, he sort of treated me the same. And I feel as though that's one of Fantasia's strengths, is that they always have kind of kept that feeling of not creating a lot of stratification between guests, between like hierarchies of levels of guests and stuff like that. Everybody's just treated and welcomed the same way.
So one thing I liked about House of Psychotic Women is all the reviews, and some Fantasia movies from this year are actually there. I got hip to Honeycomb and Sissy because of your reviews.
Okay. Yeah.
So then I remember Swallow. I saw that here too.
Yeah.
There's a fair amount of Fantasia representation in House of
I would
Psychotic
say
Women.
because the expanded edition is a lot of the new editions are movies that were made in the last 10 years. So a lot of them I would have seen at Fantasia or they were programmed here.
Right.
And so so there's that's one of the interesting things of compared to the first edition of the book is that doing the expanded edition, I was way more in contact with filmmakers who were aware of they were aware of the book and they were like excited to be included in the new edition, So that was a totally different experience from when I was first doing it and people didn't know who the hell I was. And when I was trying to get pictures from people for the book, they're just like, I don't know, what is this book, And then this time it was totally the opposite. People are like throwing pictures at me and they're like, yes, please include my movie,
I interviewed Amelia Moses, and back when we did our interview for Woodlands Dark, I don't remember the name. It was the one after Bleed With Me, whatever. I tied you two in the same broadcast, and she was very stoked about that.
Oh, cool.
So for people who don't know, tell people about sort of the concept of House of Psychotic Women, and approximately when did you come up with this idea?
Well, I started working on it about 10 years before it came out. So I would say like it was the early 90s when I started thinking about writing it. And at the time, I was just thinking like, I've written a lot of things for my fanzine that are about movies that have neurotic women or hysterical women and stuff like that. And at first I was thinking maybe I'll compile some of these older writings and make a book out of it that has like 10 essays or something like that. And then I kept struggling with the structure, and I would, as the internet got bigger and bigger and there was more and more like reviews on the internet, I started to feel like, well, just reviewing movies isn't enough. Like people are going to be like, well, I can just read a review on the internet, And so I was like, I knew that I needed some other type of concept. And it was really like a couple of friends of mine who suggested that I take a personal approach with it. And they were like, whenever you talk about these movies, you're always talking about them in terms of like how you relate to them and how they relate to things you're going through in your life and stuff like that. And they're like, why have you ever considered writing the book like that? And my response was like, no, like I would never write it like that. I was just like, I hate that kind of writing where the writer's always putting themselves in the story and it's like it's all like so self-indulgent and everything. And so at first I was like really against it, but I thought I would try it. I'd try to write that way. And I realized that as soon as I started actually writing it from a first person kind of perspective, it became so easy. So I had spent years and years struggling with like trying to have movement on this book. And then as soon as I started writing it from a personal perspective, there was something really liberating about that. And I was able to just kind of plow through it like way faster than I had been. And, but I was still terrified when it came out that people wouldn't like the book because it was an unusual structure, because it is a book of film analysis, but the film analysis is like interweaving with anecdotes from my life and stuff. And so I did expect that people wouldn't like it when it came out. And my publisher, I had made a deal with him years earlier, like where I had pitched the concept for the book, but what he thought he was publishing was like this book of essays, And so when I submitted the actual book to him, I said, Harvey, I don't know if you're still going to want to publish this, but this is what I got, And luckily he loved it and felt very confident about it. And it was unlike anything else he had published, but he was willing to like take a risk with it. And then when it came out, luckily it did well, and people have told me how much it, not just how much it meant to them, but also how when they watch movies, they also do the same thing. They also watch movies from a personal perspective, and they relate to characters based on, and it's like everybody does that. Everybody projects their own kind of baggage onto films and stuff like that. And so the book just kind of articulates that.
So you and I have, I think, the same favorite Mario Bava movie, the whip in the body.
Oh yeah.
So tell me about why you like that movie so much.
Well, I haven't seen it in quite a while, but I remember like when I liked it, I just liked the. I just liked how sexually transgressive it was. You know, like it takes place in this like gothic environment that's, you know, around the same time that Hammer Films was starting to do gothic work. You know, but it's got this like really weird sexual relationship at the center of it that is like a
BDSM.
A BDSM relationship between Christopher Lee and Dahlia Lavi. And she is, you know, like many of these narratives, it's like she's trying to repress like urges in herself and try to like distance herself from, you know, the fact that this relationship is not a proper relationship. It's also, he's not her husband, you know, she's like married to or engaged to someone else that's like his brother or something. And, you know, so it's like the relationship is bad news from the beginning because this is not the person she's supposed to be marrying, but then they also have this like violent relationship where he whips her, you know, frantically and stuff, and she loves it. And, you know, and then the film starts to play with this thing like, is he a ghost that's come back, or is all of this in her head, you know? And this is where it gets into the House of Psychotic Women territory, is the idea that that she's fabricating a ghost or a haunting, you know, to deal with these things about herself that she doesn't want to face, that she has to repress. And so, yeah, so it's like, I don't know, it's such an unusual film, and especially for that time, you know, it was like 1964. It was quite early for it being as transgressive as it was. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Bava movies I love. I love Blood and Black Lace too, and yeah.
Yeah, same here. Blood and Black Lace, Black Sabbath, even like Teacher Diabolique. I feel like those are the ones you're like allowed to have as your favorite. Yeah. But then when I read you say like, no, it's really all about the whip of the body. Not to like, there's nothing wrong with all those other ones. I felt like someone's giving me permission to like this movie more than I thought I was allowed to, in a sense. Yeah. Yeah. Tell me how the book has connected to other filmmakers, like what they've told you about it.
Well, I've definitely had people tell me that they gave it to their actresses, you know, like, so I've had a lot of filmmakers tell me you know, like Starry Eyes, for instance, the filmmakers from Starry Eyes that gave it, I think, to Alex Esso, who was the lead in that movie, and she's definitely told me, like, she read that book when she was preparing for it. Also, the director of the movie, The Untamed, told me that he had given it to his actresses. There's a bunch of directors that have told me that they were making a certain type of movie, and they used my book to be able to really easily convey to their actresses like what kind of thing they're going for, but also the broad range of types of performances that you can do in these types of movies, you know, because not every character in these films is hysterical. Some of them are just mildly neurotic, or you know, they have all these different levels of like how crazy they are. And so giving it to an actress who's preparing for a role in a movie like this gives her just a bit of a toolkit, I think, to like look at all these great performances that are in this type of movie and see like, where's my character, you know, fit into this. And so I just have had lots of people tell me that, and definitely had certain people tell me that they made their film not directly inspired by the book or anything, but more that the book, you know, because it kind of created this subgenre of film. Like a lot of these types of films were not necessarily discussed in the same conversations before. And so then the fact that it kind of created this subgenre, and they realized like, they're like, yeah, I actually like movies of that subgenre also, and I want to make a movie like of that kind. And so I've had, you know, filmmakers tell me that it's been useful to them to structure their films and get certain types of performances. But I've also had people from a more personal standpoint tell me that they've really related to the kind of more memoir aspects of it, where you know, they also had trauma in their lives. Like, people told me a lot of personal stories, you know, about themselves, and how the book sometimes had helped them navigate their own issues through movies the way I had, you know. So yeah, I don't know. I've had a lot of responses to it, but almost all of them have been really, really positive.
Yeah. I would say in a positive way that the book kind of alarmed me. It like scared me.
Oh yeah.
Often. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was juggling that one with an audiobook about Sun Ra.
Okay.
And so it was just like a lot sometimes.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And then, so I love Woodlands Dark and Days Bewitched. It was a lot of
Thank
fun.
you.
I haven't snagged all the Hans BR's box set yet. I'm a little scared of the price tag. But
Yeah, but I mean, lately it keeps showing up in sales and stuff.
True.
Like Severin's had a couple sales, and I think like the distributor of Severin has had a sale recently. So you can definitely get it like cheaper than the standard retail price, like through some of these sales.
on Amazon, it's a nightmare. It's like $300.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Not doing it. But would you direct another documentary based on that experience?
No, I definitely would, because I feel as though there's a lot of mistakes I made with my first movie, and I mean, I don't know if the audience can see them all the way I can, but
Right.
I mean, I just even made mistakes in terms of the order that I did things in, the order that I feel like if I had a chance to do it again, I would be better equipped to, and so then I'd be curious to know if I would do a better job knowing a bit more about how to do it. So I'd be interested in making like at least one more. I don't know if it's like what I want to do in my life, because I do all different types of things. I'll do books, and then, I switch a lot, because it all has to do with movies and usually with genre films, but I like to move around, like it's like I like to have different types of projects. And so, so I don't know if I'll become like a filmmaker, but I would be definitely interested in making like at least one more.
Would you do a narrative?
That would be much harder, because making a doc is a completely different thing. You're not dealing with actors, for one thing.
Right.
And you're not dealing with everything having to fall into place right at the same time. It's like when you're making a narrative film, it's like everything has to click into place perfectly so that you can prepare and film in these locations at this time. Everybody has to be available at the same time. You have to have all the money at once. And one of the things that made Woodlands possible was the fact that I made it over 3 years. I just interviewed people as I went along, and we'd edit as we went along, and we would like the cash flow from the company, because Severin's main thing is distributing films, so we would have cash flow from selling Blu-rays and stuff, and so that made it possible to put like a couple $1,000s a month towards the documentary. It wasn't like we had to put the whole budget all at once, so it was like it was totally feasible, because it was just a small amount of money every month that was going towards it, and I could do everything kind of piecemeal, and I also could do it from my own room, So making a narrative thing is a totally more terrifying thing.
I'd be down though. I mean, I would hope it would happen one day. But
yeah, we'll see. I don't even know how to read call sheet. I feel as though, honestly, if I went on a set, no crew would have any respect for me, because I wouldn't know what the hell I'm doing. So yeah.
Fair. All right, well, Kayla, thanks a lot for your time. I really appreciate it. Round 3, we did it.
Yeah.
Is there a particular movie or movies you want to give a shout out to that are playing at Fantasia Fest right now?
I mean, like, I haven't seen a lot yet, but definitely of the ones I've seen, I mean, like, Honeycomb is great. I think Avalon Fast is, like, a talent to watch for sure. And
Absolutely.
she's covered in her movie is covered in the new House of Psychotic Women. And I also would really encourage people to just come see Identikit, which is the 4K restoration of this crazy Liz Taylor movie, and it's going to look better than it's, like, ever looked, So that's going to play on Sunday with the book launch.
All right, thanks a lot.
Yeah.